Hello, welcome to my channel. Today I'm painting sunflowers in acrylic paint, and it makes them look slightly different. Actually, they're much larger than what I have done previously this week. I forgot to turn my camera on, but I painted my board with blue yellow, which turned to green with the blue and a green base, and then went over it with titanium white, which I just brushed on in a crisscross fashion and left a lot of texture on the board. And then using a liner brush and raw sienna paint, I decided how the flowers would be on the board. And I started off with that little seed pod at the top and brought my stems down with each flower. And I'm painting 3 sunflowers in each of the little exercises I'm doing this week. And as you'll see, these look very different. I do not usually put the leaves in this way. I usually paint them as just one line for a center vein. But for some odd reason, I decided to shape the whole leaf, which made it a little more difficult when it came to actually painting the leaves. Usually that center line disappears. And I don't usually have anything so formal as a shape to guide me. I put all my flowers in using the raw sienna as a base, and then I mixed up a sort of orangey color with the yellow and the raw sienna and put in my first petals, which gives me a shade petal actually, and I add a highlight to the top of those. These 2 sunflowers on the left-hand side of the painting are facing slightly differently, and we don't see the entire face, so I'm using a sideways swipe to indicate those petals, which we basically only see the top of. I'm painting these sunflowers slightly differently. I usually do a mid-tone all over and then put in a shadow and then put a highlight on top. Today I'm painting in an almost shadow tone on the petals, or rays as I believe they're called, and then putting my highlight on top of that. The raw sienna won't show at the end. It may peep through in tiny patches, but really what I've done here is an underpainting, another thing that I very rarely do. So you're getting sort of special order today. Whether I'm painting leaves or petals, I always do the same. I pull the stroke in from the outer edge in toward the center of the leaf or the petal, or the center of the flower. And that's the way I've always painted them. I think other people might do something a little different. I've decided the light is coming from the right, so I'm putting in my shadow side now. Everything on the left or folded down or under a petal maybe will be in shadow, so I will paint that a mixture of sap green and French ultramarine blue, which gives me my shadow color. I don't know what's got into me today. I'm doing everything different. I'm using the edge of a 1/2 inch flat to reinforce my stems, and I would usually use a liner brush to do this, but I didn't. I'm adding some more light to the petals, and I think I go even lighter. I think I add more titanium white to this color and put in even more highlight petals, or even more of a highlight on the petals, let's put it that way. On these two flowers off to the left, I'm just using a quick sideways swipe for the centers. We don't see that full on as we do in the one on the right. And I'm putting some alizarin crimson. It really adds a little punch to the painting, I find. And I love alizarin. I always try to sneak it in somewhere. But it won't stay. It's too strong, and I do go over it toward the end. I'm putting in these little sepals. They'll also get some light on them. But it all adds interest to the painting. It adds a little more texture, a little more liveliness, and it's something extra to look at. This painting is covered in my thumbprints. I use my thumb just to wipe up those drips. I have too much water in my brush, which is why it's happening. I have to try and liven up these centers a little bit. It's where these seeds form, and it's very highly textured. And when I paint it a dark color like that, it looks too flat. It catches the light. It has little highlights and shadows, and I need to put some texture in it to show that. In this case, I'm using raw sienna. It's just slightly lighter than the raw umber that I put on for the center, and it shows up enough to catch a little highlight and give a sense of the roughness of the center of the flower. I find that as the paint dries, it dulls down slightly, so I stand back and see where I need highlights, and I go back in and touch the painting with highlights just here and there, like these stems that I'm doing now. So you see the alizarin, it peeps through here and there, but it doesn't overtake the stem. And I do the same with the petals and with the leaves. I add a little more highlight. It will dry down slightly from what you see here, and it will just add that little touch of dimension to the leaves and the petals. I'm pretending these sunflowers are standing in the rough patch of field, and I'm adding some grasses and weeds and twiggy bits just to the base of the picture in the foreground. And I'm using a fan brush to do that. I use it flat on and on its edge to get taller weeds. And I'm using French ultramarine blue for the darkest color, and then I'll go over that with a lighter green, just to give me a little light and shadow and texture. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and acrylic sunflowers are very different, aren't they, to watercolor and pen? And I was going to do them in pastel, but I only just got my pastels and I realize I know nothing about them. So I'll leave that for another time. So thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. That helps my channel grow, and I'd appreciate that. And thank you to everyone who's already done that for me. I very much appreciate your help. Bye for now.